Hello everybody, it's me Andrew. I'm here at Allegory Gallery in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. If you are not familiar with me or Allegory Gallery, I'll do a quick little recap of who I am and what we do here. So my name is Andrew Thornton. I'm a fine artist and the co-owner and creative director of Allegory Gallery. My partner, William Jones, who is behind the counter.
Hello.
He does most of the in-store work and the numbers and the finances. I do most of the creative mojo, but he does some of that too.
Techie stuff.
Yeah, the techie stuff. So what we wanted to do with this series is talk a little bit about small businesses and how small businesses can you can either start a small business or do better with your small business. It always helps to reevaluate your small business and how you do things and take a look at what you do. And I feel like that is an important tool. If you are looking for a video from somebody with an MBA, keep scrolling. I'm not one of them. What we are going to talk about in this series, this is the first in the series, so if it's a little bit off, you'll have to forgive us. But if you are looking for an MBA, then you'll have to look somewhere else. But what we are providing here are things that we've learned by running our business, which is a bead and jewelry store. So we focus mostly on creative-based businesses, but I think a lot of what we have to impart is useful universally. So what we've learned are things that we've had to do by trial and error. And we've also been really fortunate to go to places like Reno to work with some of the industry experts who created Constant Contact, people who work with Pinterest and Facebook. So we've been really lucky. Recently, we've had the opportunity to work with Terry Rice and Melissa Horvath through Square in Pittsburgh. And that was a part of their self-made event series, which we were really fortunate to be able to attend. So a lot of these things are things that we apply for our own business, and hopefully as the series progresses, you'll see a little bit of what I do and what William does. So I do a lot of the kind of the psycho-spiritual aspects of small business, and William does a lot with the tech side. And so hopefully when you see him, you'll get kind of the technical information and background that will be useful for those specific things. So I do the woo-woo factor, and that I think is where we're going to start today. So when you are talking with a lot of business experts, they will say that when you're ready to start a business, you should start with a business plan. And that is a super useful tool. It is one of those things where when you have a plan, you can understand where you want to go and how you want to get there. So I cannot recommend that enough. But before you get to that, I think it's really important to do a little bit of homework and research first. And that's where this is going to focus. This video is called Square One, and I really believe that this is where the cornerstone of your small business will be built upon. So the first thing is understanding who you are as a person and where you want to go with your business. And sometimes it's a little bit trickier than you think. So what I suggest doing is you find a quiet space, one that's away from distractions, one that you can really focus on thinking and really digging deeper. And bring yourself either a little notebook or something that you can write down and start thinking about yourself. Now list all of your qualifications, who you are, what you are, and really go deep with that. If you're having trouble coming up with that list, I suggest getting a mirror and looking into that mirror and just start writing down what you see. And it may seem, it's like, oh, I know what I look like. But that will start getting the wheels turning as far as kind of understanding who you are and kind of deciphering the DNA of your small business. So when I look into the mirror, I see somebody who is an LGBTQIA community member and somebody who is a person of color. I'm brown. That's some of the first things that I notice. And you may be saying, well, why does that matter? Shouldn't your business be, built solely on your business and not, and, shouldn't it be separate from who you are? And in some ways, yes. But also, when you are starting to create a business, it's important that you understand who you are and your strengths and where your weaknesses are too. So when I say that I'm an LGBTQIA community member and that I'm a brown person, a son of an immigrant. My mother immigrated from the Philippines, and my father is from the Ozarks, and he met her in the Air Force when he was stationed in the Philippines. So when you start looking at those things and start exploring your personal histories and understanding who you are at your very essential core, it's important to understand that, because when I look at my history as somebody who has had to overcome poverty and adversity, I ask myself, how did I meet those challenges? And for me personally, the way that I met all of those challenges is to explore my creativity. And by exploring my creativity, I've been able to craft the life that I've wanted to live. The life that we live now is a really blessed one, where we're able to devote that to creating and adding beauty into this world and hoping to help people express themselves and really understand, their voice and tell their story. So I feel really fortunate to be able to do that. But that all started with me understanding who I was and how I could contribute to this small business. Now, some of the hard parts of this is being brutally honest with yourself. This does not work if you lie to yourself. If you fluff yourself up and you pretend and if you put the shiny coat veneer on it and you lie to yourself, this isn't going to work. The reason why it's not going to work is because if you are not genuine and authentic to yourself, other people will sense it, other people will smell it right away, and that will start the problems that some people have faced. And it's one of those things that if you start off wrong, it's like building on a shaky foundation. It's going to only get worse. So really be truthful and brutally honest. Nobody is going to see this list but yourself. So make sure that when you go and you do this digging deep, that you are brutally honest and you highlight both your strengths and your weaknesses. So some of my strengths are I'm creative, I'm passionate, and I am very determined. One of the things that I think that means is that I'm willing to work really hard to get what I want. And if you know that you're somebody who's lazy, then the idea of starting a small business may be appealing, but it may not be for you. Or you may have to come up with a solution to combat those traits that are less than desirable. So if you, this is where the kind of the con side of your list is important. So if you know that you have problems with time management, or because one of the things I have an issue with is procrastination. So for me, knowing that I have an issue with putting off things and getting easily distracted by starting new projects is creating a solution for that, either by having a planner or a calendar, holding myself accountable to other people, creating solutions for myself in that way. So the first thing is to make that list and understand who you are as a person. Because understanding who you are as a person is the best way to start. The next thing what you're going to do is try to understand who your customer is. Now, in the workshop that we did with Terry Rice, he suggested creating an empathy map. An empathy map is basically creating a persona profile of who your customer is. Now, if you've been in business, then it's easy to kind of look at the analytics and understand that through, the data. You can say, well, we sold this much, and you can use social media monitoring or social media listening to further understand your customers and clients. Now, if you're just starting out, it's a little bit harder. Now, what I suggest you doing is create a question for yourself. And that question is, what can you do to solve a problem in somebody else's life? And I think that's the cornerstone of where business comes from, is where you meet somebody else's question with a solution. So with your business, you want to ask that question of what can you do for somebody else and how can you do that? And part of that is understanding who your customer is. Understand who they are, what they want, and where they want to go. Now that may be different from a lot of the business lessons that others may impart. But I think it's important in this day and age where there's e-commerce and things happen so rapidly and quickly that it's easy to lose focus of who you are trying to reach and how you want to reach them. So look at yourself and understand how can you answer those questions in a way that's unique and personal to who you are. So if you are, for instance, a bead store, they can buy beads anywhere. Let's be real. They can go to Amazon, they can go to eBay, they can go anywhere else. They don't need you. So why should they buy from you? Why should they buy from us? So what we've done is try to understand who our customer is. Our customer is somebody who wants, at the very core of this, to tell a story. They want to have their voice be heard. And I can understand this because for a long time, I pushed down who I was and what I tried to be somebody I wasn't. I didn't understand who I was. I didn't really love myself as an individual. And so it was hard for me to understand wanting it was hard for me to be genuine and honest. And when I finally understood that honesty and authenticity was important, I was able to really start telling my story and communicate to other people. And the way that I did that was through my creativity. So I did that through my artwork and through my jewelry, and it's a powerful tool. Beads in themselves are the oldest markers of civilization. They go back before written language, they go back before pottery, they go back before, so many different things that they use to mark, the evolution of civilizations. And they're the very first thing, and they're in all cultures. Body adornment spans the whole entire world and touches on generations, millennia old. So when you kind of go and ask yourself, where do I want to go? How do I want to do this? Who is my customer? Where is that, where is my place in this? For us, it was empowering people and telling those stories. So a lot of the things that we carry in our store are things that all have a story, and we try to impart those stories to those customers who seek us out. So we're adding value to our offerings. They could go to a big box store and they might not have that kind of expertise or that information or that knowledge behind that. And it's not just about, offering the best price. If your goal and what you have to offer is based in price, then you'll probably lose unless you're the source. And I hate to be the realist in that, but it's a race to the bottom. I mean, it's one of those things where you just keep undercutting each other, and then until nobody makes any money and everybody goes out of business. So it's not about being the bargain basement price of the bead world. You can certainly try, but there's always going to be somebody in China or wherever who can undersell you. And unless you can add that added intangible value, where it's either knowledge or information or even passion. I mean, it's one of those things, if you care about what you're doing, then you can impart that to your customers and they can feel it. They know it when you are genuinely inspired by what you're doing. So it's important to understand that yourself, so that you can add those values to your products. And not only add those values to your products, but be happy in doing it. There are so many people who think that just because they're good at something, they should make a living at it, that they should monetize their hobby. And I don't agree with that. I think that if you are somebody who is not ready for a lot of hard work, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, then you might be, better off skipping the small business world. And there's no shame in that. I think everybody wants to be the hero of their story, and it's romantic and idealized to be an entrepreneur and to strike it out on your own. And there is a lot of value to that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't if that's something that you're passionate about. I'm actually saying that you should. But if you are somebody who is more comfortable doing a day job and making stuff in the evenings or on the weekends or whenever, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, that's a good thing. You don't have to be reliant on your hobby. So again, it goes back to understanding who you are and understanding your customer. Now, your customer has a lot of choices. Who are they? Who are your customers, and what do they want? Do they want something that is, in the jewelry world, for example, do they want something bright and colorful and cheerful and, over the top exuberant? Or do they want something simple and quiet? Now, there is a reason why they want these things. Sometimes, if somebody is wanting something over the top and vibrant, is because it matches their personality. They want their personality to be expressed in the jewelry that they wear. Or, they are shy and they want to meet people, and wearing something colorful and attractive is a way to kind of open the door and create an icebreaker without actually having to say anything. It's the first impression. So that's one very specific example of the motivations that can drive your customer. There are so many more. Who do you want to sell to? Who do you want to wear your work or represent you and your company? So understanding that is the square one basic. So in recap, I want you to go into a quiet place, make a list of all your benefits, all of your positive attributes, all of the cons, all of the things that you feel are negatives, and really get to know who you are, dig deeper, understand that, and then make a list of who your customer is. Now, once you develop this empathy map of who your customer is, you can use this as a test subject. So when you watch Project Runway and they say, "Who's your girl?" Understanding who your customer is kind of is the easy way to get into that mindset of how best can you solve that issue. If you're designing clothes and you are dealing with, say, the plus size community, you have to be very mindful of the way that you design things so that it celebrates a woman or man's body in a way that is flattering, and if you are saying that your customer is somebody who's on a budget, then you have to think about how you can meet those needs that they have, and do so in a fiscally responsible way. Or if you are designing luxury items, how do you do that and do it in a way that's going to best suit your customer? And once you understand those very core basic understanding of business, of yourself, of where you want to go, what you want to do, then you can start doing your business plan. The business plan gets into more specifics like, how much money do you have? Where are you located? How are you going to do business? And it gets into the more nitty-gritty facets of that. But I feel like the first thing is understanding who you are and who your customer is. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, this started off as a Facebook Live, and we would appreciate you liking and sharing this video. And if you got any, this will eventually be in our YouTube channel. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we would appreciate you liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you are wondering about future topics and have questions or suggestions or things that you're genuinely curious about, you can email us at info@allegorygallery.com. You can also leave a comment. Make sure to tag us, because after this airs, sometimes it's a little bit tricky to keep on top of that. So you can email those questions, and hopefully we'll be able to dig a little bit deeper into, how to boost your social media, how to do little things to improve your business. And from me, you'll get more of the woo-woo. With William, you'll get more of the technical. And hopefully we hope that you enjoy this, and you'll forgive our little bumps in the road along the way. But this comes from a place of seeing people who have that desire to either start their own small business, or they're struggling with their businesses now and they're having, an existential crisis of what do I do now? And it's particularly difficult when you've been doing something a long time and it's worked for so long and now it doesn't. And that's when it's important to go back to understanding who you are and who your customer is, because that changes. If you wrote your business plan and you did your square one work, you're gonna have to do it again. This is not something that you do once and you're like, done, got this, this is in the bag. You're gonna have to keep doing that, because the marketplace changes. You change, your customers change, and it's important that if you want to stay relevant, then you should, and I hate saying you should, but this is one of those things where if you want to be successful in what you do, you need to really evaluate these things from time to time, because you can totally just steamroll into it and be successful. There's a lot of lucky people. They They luck into things. It's wonderful. It's magical. But for the rest of us, that's not the case. You've got to understand, who you are and what you do and how best you can do it and who you're doing it for and what they need. And that's where it boils down to. Now, if you are saying, whoa, my mind is blown, I don't know what to do, I have so many questions, ask those questions. Don't be afraid to ask, because the worst that I can do is not answer or, whatever. But ask those questions. Now, if you're really, really stumped and you need help and it's desperation station time, you can email us at info@Allegory Gallery, and we do offer business consulting. And what we'll do is we'll talk to you and do a quick evaluation of your business and give you kind of those tools on a more one-on-one specific basis. And that's one of those things where if you need that, we're happy to provide that. And William's really good at developing websites and creating a web presence, and we can definitely tailor your consultation to meet your specific individual needs. So again, if you've enjoyed this, like and share this video. If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And hopefully you found this useful and not too redundant. And hopefully, you're able to get something out of this. If you were able to get something out of this, please comment. This is all about being interactive with our community, learning from each other, growing from each other. Share your experiences and talk about where your struggles are. If you are, be honest with yourselves. It's hard to be honest. It's hard to be vulnerable. I feel like if you are a mega corporation, then you don't have to be. You can just be like, here's what I got, buy it, don't buy it, whatever. Because you're appealing to a mass audience. When you are specialized, you matter. You are a part of the DNA of your small business. And as part of the DNA of your small business, you're the secret sauce, And the secret sauce is important. And nobody knows what that secret sauce is unless you tell them. And so it's important as we progress in these things to talk about things like how to be vulnerable but not too vulnerable, because there's also the danger of giving away too much or making yourself in a compromised position. And we can talk about that if that's something of interest to you. But again, like and share this, and if you've enjoyed us and want to check out what we do at Allegory Gallery, you can always visit us at allegorygallery.com and or our Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, all of those things. All right, bye-bye.